Welcome to the Do More podcast, where we share strategies and tips for improving your life in every aspect. Here's your host, John Farling.
All right, today's show, I've got Chris Lawrence out of New York. He's a good friend of mine that I met, I think about 2-3 years ago through the Storage Rebellion, a self-storage mastermind, and we've become closer over the years, and definitely appreciate his friendship. Have him on today. Want to learn more about him. I know a little bit about him, but want to learn more about his story, his journey, and anything else he can provide to us. So, Chris, thanks for coming on. Why don't you just give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, buddy. I've enjoyed getting to know you over the few years. I've been in the Storage Rebellion and your journey, and it's been awesome just kind of watch you grow and inspired me. So very thankful for our relationship and friendship. So my name is Chris Lawrence. I live in Rochester, New York. I have a wife, a 2.5-year-old daughter, and a son on the way come April. Before I got into real estate, I was in sales for 10 years. And then always kind of had this itch with real estate. And then fast forward to 2020, I left my sales job to flip houses, wholesale properties, acquire rentals. And that was going well, had some success there. But quickly realized that if I wanted to offset my sales and six-figure income, I was going to have to get into an asset class that would allow me to grow and scale, have an economies of scale to grow quicker to get that quote unquote passive income. And I want to say it was May of 21. I kind of had this aha moment. I, hit a home run BRRRR deal, really good, which is buy, rent, rehab, refinance, repeat, cash flowed $600 on paper. I'm like, I just hit a home run and I'm going to need 10 or 20 of these to make it, really substantial. So,
now it's single family, right?
Yeah, single family house. And at the time I wasn't in self-storage. And then, I was, my wife was leaving her job at the time. She was pregnant with our daughter. And I was at a crossroads where our savings was depleting. And it was I'm like, man, I have a few months before we're at, I'm going to have to go back to either get another job or make this real estate thing work. And I leaned into, self-storage, joined the Storage Rebellion, spent a lot of money to do that. And then was very lucky and fortunate to where we are now. I have about 100,000 square feet of storage and 3 facilities. So it's kind of looking back, it almost never happened, but so grateful and lucky, kind of all the dots connected along the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I want to back up a little bit. And I kind of forgot a little bit that our stories are very similar. As far as I was in outside sales for 10 years, you were too. Sounds like you had a little bit more balls than I did in quitting your job. So I want to dive into that. So you did outside sales. What did you sell? What did that all look like?
Yeah. So when I first started sales, it was selling school bus parts. And then I did that for a few years and then eventually sold school buses. So I covered Western New York, 10 or so counties, and sold to school districts, business managers, work with business managers, transportation directors, and head mechanics. Essentially, it was just, perfect for what I'm in now. It's just building relationships, building rapport, all the stuff that in my eyes is led to some of my success in self-storage and real estate.
Yeah. So no, I completely agree. And I think that's probably been one of my main things that's helped me succeed is my sales background. Did you go through actual sales training, or was it more, obviously you did it for a decade, so you've got experience, but was it more, here you go, good luck, figure this thing out?
Yeah, it was kind of that. And a little bit it's a little bit of my zone of genius, right? It's I feel like I have a little bit of connection, can build rapport, but it's kind of like a staircase. You kind of, okay, you're having some natural ability, but there's some refinement and learning and growing. And I really dove into professional development and not getting too far into the weeds, but I grew up racing motocross, and back, I want to say it was 18 or 19, I got in a really bad accident where I had a short-term, borderline traumatic brain injury, but don't remember, a day of time, and woke up in my house and just, had short-term memory stuff. And it just really sparked something in me. It's like, man, we are not promised tomorrow. And it just like, I really like dove into like this professional journey of like development and like just trying to squeeze everything out of it as I could, because I never really was in that space before. Didn't really like to read, didn't like school, but then like realized like, okay, like you only get one shot at this. So it's like, all right, let's put full steam ahead. And yeah.
That's crazy. So you had, I mean, I think we all take, we all have turning points, and whether we acknowledge them and see them and do something with them is one thing, but you had something that was traumatic, that completely changed your way of thinking. So take us back to that. I kind of had the similar path, but mine was more drawn out. Yours was, it sounds like, almost instant. And you ended up leaving your job, what, 2 or 3 years after that?
Yeah, it was a few years after that. Just something clicked where it's like, okay, like I got to get this figured out. And it was almost like I was always super competitive, but just never had like that growth mindset of like, this could happen to me, like just like wanting to like, almost like I just kind of thought I was static. You couldn't really get outside of, no one in my family had done real estate. So it's like, that wasn't a path for me. But then I was like, no, like I listened to podcasts, books, and, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Never Split the Difference, like negotiating. I read all these books and like, man, it's like, I can do this. And then like, I was in sales at the time. So I read Never Split the Difference. Like I listened to it in the car. And then like all that sales negotiating, I would like practice when I was at my customers. I'm like, holy crap, this stuff works. Like mirroring people, like reflecting, like, just being able, not manipulate sounds bad, but be able to get the outcome I want in an ethical way. And I'm like, man, the sky's the limit for this. It's like, I can apply this to whatever I want, So that was just huge for me. And then like, it was like 2018, 2019, and then 2020. It's like, I left, I wrote down my goal. Like at the time it was like, I want to make a few $1,000s of passive income. And that seemed like crazy out of the question. And I still have it in a journal. And it was like, now I've, 5-7x that. And it's not, not bragging, but it's like, it doesn't even seem possible. So it was just kind of how it all came together, as kind of came full circle, I guess.
It's wild how similar our stories both are. And I don't want to keep comparing, but yeah, it's crazy how it's almost like listening to myself tell it, hearing you. Only yours was more instant. So you quit your job. And it sounded like you were making 6 figures, so you had a good job. What ultimately do you remember? Was it just like, I'm putting my 2 weeks in and I'm just going full in? Because you didn't have the passive income at the time you quit your job, correct?
No. I had I think one or two rentals. It was just like, it was like, I could always go back to get a job, right? It's scary as hell to leave your job, but it's like my worst case scenario was doing what everyone already did. So it was like, okay, like we have, plenty of savings. Like I figured like if I didn't make money for a year, I had like a year buffer, like just the time was now. And my manager at the time kind of could tell I was like checking out a little bit. Like my sales were still the best they ever were. And he was almost like, hey, do you want to switch into part sales again? Like, I know you want this real estate stuff. And they were almost going to switch me. I'm like, no, like I'm good. Like I'm leaving. I'm going to go do my deal. And it was like before we had the kid and my daughter, and before my wife left her job. So it was like, if I'm going to do it, like now is the time. It's like, I didn't want to look back and be like, man, what if I would have left my job? Or, I was so comfortable, right? I had the 6-figure job. I had the company vehicle, the gas card, the golden handcuffs. But it's like, I just, something was burning in me where it's like, I just want to control my life. Like I had 3 weeks vacation. It's like, shit, this past year, I watched my daughter every Tuesday. I had 52 days out of the year where it's like, I just watched my daughter. So it's just like, I wanted to be in control. And it's like that I was always going to be working for the man,
Yep. I think you said, I think you hit on it, is like control. And I think, and you're younger than I am, but I think at some point through personal development, I know you're a big personal development person. Like the more you read about, I guess it's not just real estate, but freeing things and personal development, you realize like anything is possible. I can do whatever I want. And then your brain just starts to like, it almost changes in your way of thinking. It's like the red and blue pill, right? In Matrix. And you're like, I don't have to work for somebody. I can do what I want and be in full control. I mean, speak more on that. And do you think you'd be in this position if it weren't for your accident?
I don't know. I go back and I don't think so, because it's like, I never read, like I never was interested, maybe because of the fear of like knowing that like you can change, that it is scary to know that you can change and you're in control and have to do something about it. So you'll never know, but there was something that triggered, and even my manager at the time, he's like, I've done sales for 30 years. He's like, I've never seen anyone do this, like not like a complete change, but like I was just like eager to learn, and I was like drinking water from a fire hose. Like I would just learn and apply and just kind of amplify what I was already doing, and just kind of kept going. And then it was just like, rocket fuel, and it's been a great journey. And it's like, I'm still like, I have a personal coach, Mike Wagner, and, it's part of my success is my external success is some of my internal, like, maybe insecurities or flaws, or like never being good enough. So it's like, I'm, working through some of that stuff too, because it's like, it's great to make good income. We want to continue to make more, but it's like, if you were to say I'm in this position, it's like, I've made it, but it's like, there's other things that, like, the more success I get, sometimes I feel a little more insecure or scared of losing it. So it's like, really honing in on, that fulfillment bucket, just continuing to grow and really leaning into stuff that I want to do, because, like I'm still growing and trying to figure out what's next. Like I want to continue to grow in storage, but I'm going to invest in one of my best friends' driveway sealing business to help him on the business side of that, to get that fulfillment and help him really dial in his full potential. Cause I don't think he sees in himself what I see in him, and want to help him grow. And it wouldn't be possible without real estate. You know what I mean? With the time.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I do want to kind of dive, before we hear the rest of your story, I want to talk a little bit about that whole, I guess, I don't want to say grinding, but kind of working more, chasing money or something. And maybe it's not, I know for myself, and I'll try to explain this a little bit better. I know for myself, I enjoy business. Like I enjoy working. I don't know how many hours I work a week. I don't keep track. I do know that I'm a better person, better husband, better father when I've been fulfilled with some type of productivity that day. I'm better throughout the rest of the day. So where is that, I guess, balance for you? Do you keep track of how much you work? Are you, I think you like business from what we talk about and what I see. Where do you kind of fall in that spectrum?
Yeah, man, I'm still trying. It's like a moving target. Like I'm trying to figure it out. Like I'm, have total autonomy of my time. So it's like, I'm really like dialed in with like family time and like, working out and exercise and doing the things I want to do. But if I'm being honest, I'm kind of lacking in like the business, like feeling fulfillment and feel like I'm moving the ball forward, because, I'm blessed to be in the position I am. So I'm trying to figure that out. Like this past year, I wouldn't say like it was a success from a personal and I guess a professional, but maybe not pushing the business forward, because I kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's like, I'm trying to find that blend of like, okay, like I'm back cold calling, I'm back, doing the things that put fear in my eyes, and like trying to get remotivated to do those when you don't need to do it, if that makes any sense. So it's like doing the stuff that got me here, to where I am, continuing to do that while living the life I want to live. So I'm trying to figure that out. And like, I love storage, but sometimes it doesn't feel like I'm making a difference in the world. And that's where like, I'm excited to do some of the fulfillment bucket with like my best friend, use some of my skills, and then, leverage his ability with the driveway sealing with like the operations. Right. So like I can leverage the website, the setting up the virtual assistants and getting it all booked, and then he takes it to fulfillment. So I'm really excited and looking forward to that, and also continuing to grow, our small family business. Like my cousin works full-time for us. Like we just had, my wife's uncle, and just continuing to grow that, just because that's how she puts food on the table, and I got to hold up my end of the bargain and hold myself accountable and keep the promises I make to myself.
Yeah, that's cool. No, you're doing something. What I've been kind of not super actively searching, but putting time and energy and resources into someone else's company, I think is one, yeah, you're giving back. You're giving back what you've learned and what you can help apply to make their business better, and probably their lifestyle better too, right?
Yeah.
But it's also like, that's fun. That's a fun thing. I think that would be awesome to help someone do.
Yeah.
How long have you been friends? How does that look? Can you talk about what that partnership's going to look like or no?
Yeah. So it's my best friend since like, I don't know, I want to say 7 or 8. I grew up racing motocross together. He's like my day one homie. He runs a very successful business, but he kind of came to me and was like, he's just through conversation at a crossroads where it's like, hey, a few people have come into this business after me and they're growing way past me. He's kind of hit a little bit of a roadblock. And it's like, I feel like I can unlock a lot of his potential because I don't feel like he has the belief in himself like people saw in me, and I just know how powerful that is. And I know he's right there on living the life he wants. And I feel like I can give him that little push he needs. Yeah. So essentially it'll be a 50-50 partnership. I'm going to invest some capital, and then time just to set up like the systems and the business, and just, it's essentially like the mom and pop method. It's getting a website and dialing in all this stuff so that like a customer can hit our website, they can get a quote for their driveway and we can be sealing their driveway next week. So kind of that Amazon, Netflix approach where it's like, it's just quick and fast, pricing the product right. So it's like we're doing quality, not necessarily quantity. And just, in a perfect world, I think we're going to add 2 trucks, and my nephew's going to work for us, and then he has one of his guys. So yeah, just kind of grow up that way. And I think it'll be very successful, but we'll find out. I'm pretty confident in what we should be able to do.
That's awesome, man. So is he working, I guess, more in the business right now?
Yeah. So he's a, operator, and he kind of the, wearing all the hats, and like, I want to be able to like relieve some pressure off of him, like hire a VA. And so he's not answering phones, and then also doing the operations and, like doing the billing and the books and just be able to like, hey, just the bottleneck of the business is like time we can seal throughout the year, labor and equipment, and weather and that sort of stuff. And the only way to do that is to get more time, labor and more equipment and stuff. So yeah, just helping him, through that. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think it's crazy because to you and I, it probably doesn't seem all that complicated, right? And it's truly not, but he's working in the business every single day, and he doesn't have time and energy and resources to think about what could I do today to build my business for tomorrow. Like he just, you just said he's answering the phone, he's doing the work, like, and that's how majority of mom and pop businesses are ran. They're running and doing everything in the business, and you can make a good living, but you're not going to have, like you said, lifestyle, and you can only grow so far. So no, that's awesome, man. This is like, I had no idea we're going to go here. But this is why I like doing podcasts, because it's, I find things out that I'm learning. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I think just, we both grew up very blue collar, and there's nothing wrong with, putting your boots on and working and getting the stuff done, but just shifting some of his mindsets and beliefs and like looking at it like as having labor or workers as an asset versus a liability that, they'll be able to grow the business. So yeah, I'm excited to do it. And we're kind of in the ground stages of like, hey, we have a business name and logo, and setting all that stuff up is fun for me. And he doesn't like to do it. He likes the operations of.
You didn't have a business name?
No. Like so I didn't explain myself. So he's going to continue to have his business, and we're just going to label and brand another business, just in case like the wheels come off. I don't want to disrupt his business and how he makes bread and butter. And then like after a year, like let's assess, like see, I think I'll love it, but like maybe I won't like it. Maybe we want to split apart. So this way it gives us like a division of like,
That's
okay,
smart.
let's start this. Let me start it how I think it should be done. And I'm sure there'll be some tweaks and changes, but then see where we go and learn and, change and iterate if as needed.
Yeah, no, that's super smart. I didn't even think about that, because now you have options, right? Even if Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, you want to help your buddy out, but at the end of the day, you want to stay best friends,
Right.
Going forward. And if you guys don't see eye to eye, you can just dissolve this new company that you started, right? And he can go back to doing what he was doing and you're all good.
Because he's still going to do his deal, but he's going to help, so it's like we're just 50-50 partners. I think I can set up the business end, and essentially it's just more driveways to him to seal with more trucks. It's just a different name how we're doing it. And you hit it on the head. It's like at the end of the day, it's like our friendship is first and foremost. It's like I could care less. I don't need to pull money from this. Obviously, I want to be successful to be able to make more money, but like I don't need to pull money from this. I'm doing this because I like to be competitive. I think there's a hole in the market in service businesses. People don't run them like a business. And I just, think it would be cool to see him accomplish his, dreams and vision for what he wants.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited to hear more about that. So we got off track a little bit, but I think we learned a lot there. So now you're in self-storage. It sounds like you stopped doing the single families, got in self-storage. You have 3 facilities now, and that's since 2021. Is that right?
Yeah, November of 21. Yep.
And you're in New York. Where are your facilities located?
I have 2 in New York, Jamestown and Utica, so kind of east and west of Rochester, and then I own 1 in Florida.
Okay. Yeah. So how differently do you run those 2? How close are those 2 in New York to you?
About 2 hours apart, so just east and west of me.
Okay. So how often do you go there? How often do you go to your Florida one? And how do you run the New York ones differently from the one in Florida?
So really, I can't tell you the last time I've been to the facilities. I think I've been to the Florida one maybe once or twice. And then
total?
Like total since we owned it. We have really good people, like really good boots on the ground. My cousin does a phenomenal job, like taking care of the day-to-day stuff. Like the Jamestown one, that was our first one. So in the beginning, I was there sweeping units. I was there a lot. But now it's, we're trying to fine tune that. Like I think my business partner, my cousin and I are going to get on a rotation where like once a month, someone's there just keeping our eyes on it just to make sure things are going well. But and then the Utica one we're building out there. So I've been there a little more, but I've probably only been there a handful of times. So it's not, it's kind of as needed as we want to. So we're trying to formalize that a little more just to, make sure we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's and just keeping things up to par.
Yeah. So you've got, you have a business partner. Sounds like he's your cousin. How did that come to fruition?
So it's my wife's uncle.
Okay.
So, and my cousin is she works full time for us. So she's not a business partner, but down the road, we might cut her into some of the equity. But yeah, so my wife's uncle, Andy, I guess when I first started flipping houses, like I begged, borrowed, and stealed to get a loan of like $20,000 from him, Andy. And I ended up doing it, kind of fulfilled what I was doing. And then he kind of saw like, oh, like you're flipping some houses and making money and kind of holding your end of the bargain. And then like his business, he was selling just because it was a office supplies business that just kind of is fizzling out. So he since sold that, but he needed a way in or something else to do. So he invested in me when we were flipping, we started partnering on some of the flips and some of the rentals, and then came to the point where like, okay, we need to like rev this thing up because it's going to be his money. It's going to be our money that we're making, so we need to be able to, make this work to make a living. And so 50-50 partners. When we first started, he would fund the deals, I would find the deals, and then we would split the management and operations. And now we have my cousin that does that. So yeah, essentially he's the money piece, and I'm the deal maker. Find the deal and find the opportunity.
So when he's the money piece, obviously you're finding the deals and stuff. So we kind of know what you're doing. He's the money guy. Is he doing anything day to day, or he's he pays our bills, and we all meet once a week, so he'll have tasks and things that he does to kind of help things move forward. He's also taken over like the direct mail piece of the I guess operations for sourcing direct to seller opportunities, and I'm just focusing in on cold calling, so it's more consistent. Yeah. So it sounds like you guys are probably the perfect partner in the fact that you both want to do different things, and you're both good at different things. And we just talked about your sales expertise. You can bring that into the mix. It sounds like he's financially responsible, I guess, if that's the word you want to use. So it sounds like it was kind of a happy marriage from the beginning, right?
Yeah, and I think before we even got into business, like I just knew his values and ethics, and we aligned. Like we want to do, at the end of the day, we want to make money, but we want to do the right thing, and that's like working with contractors, our customers, just vendors. Like at the end of the day, like yeah, we want to make money, but not at all costs. It's like we want to do the right thing, and I believe that when you do those things and put those vibrations or whatever you want out into the world, it'll come back, time and time again.
I think that's huge. That I don't know if a lot of people think about when they're getting into partnership is ethics and morals, and do they align? And really a vision too, right? Because there's a lot of people that are just like, you know what, you got some money, I can do the work over here and it fits. But ethics and morals don't line up, and someone's chasing the money, wants to work 100 hours a week, and another guy wants a lifestyle and doesn't care about money, right? Like you have to be aligned, which sounds like you guys obviously are. And speaking of lifestyle, I know you just went, what was that, a month-long vacation? Is that right?
2 weeks to Costa Rica.
2 weeks. Sorry, I'm blowing it out of proportion a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, soon it'll be a month. That's the goal.
That's awesome. So what's your obviously you're working on your business, and you said this, it sounds like this past year you kind of wish or felt like you could have worked a little bit more. What's your day-to-day look like? How do you want it to look like?
Yeah. So my day-to-day, I get up, I guess is granular, get up super early, like at 5:00, 5:30, I'll read, do my kind of morning routine, journal a little bit. And then, go to the gym first thing. And then, get my daughter up and do the family stuff, which is awesome and super important to me. So I want to be very present for her, and my wife. And then, it was just getting more into like, I'd find myself avoiding the tough stuff to do, right? It's like, I would always not make the cold call, not always, but like it's become harder once for at least for me, I've experienced like since I've reached the goal, it's become harder I'm finding out and figuring out how to motivate and re-engage, because I don't need to do anything. So it's like, okay, what do I want to do? And why do I want to do it? But yeah, just spending time with family, really prioritizing health. And yeah, just doing the cold calling. We're doing some cool, cool marketing, like with SEO and stuff, because I had a website with my home buyers for single family. So we're spending a good amount of money doing that, because I think there's an opportunity there that doesn't seem to be as, like, people aren't tapping into that as much, maybe. So that remains to be seen. So yeah, just doing that stuff. And then I think really it'll be doing the cold calling, doing that to feel like I'm moving the business forward. And then, working a day a week with my buddy, once we get that up and running. But it's like, I'm so lucky and blessed of where I am. I'm always looking at the gap versus the gain of like, man, I'd kill to be where I'm at. If you'd asked me this 3-4 years ago, and I would have told you you're crazy. So it's like, I don't want to lose sight of that, but I also want to feel that fulfillment and purpose and have that inner peace, if that makes any sense.
Yep. No, it's tough. Like, you just accomplished a huge goal, right? And that goal started around 18, 19, and you accomplished this huge goal that a very small percentage of people accomplish, right? And you feel like you conquered this mountain, and then it's like kind of a lull, and you're trying to figure things out and get remotivated. And you touched on it a little bit. What are the actual things that you're going through right now to kind of remotivate yourself to keep going?
Yeah. So I have a personal coach, so that is very helpful for me, because it kind of calls you out on your BS, and it really sheds the light, brings to light, like, okay, what's the issues? What's the underlying issues? And really helps with my beliefs and mindset. And it's just not doing it for me, and just having this greater purpose of like, what, I want to do it for my cousin. I want to be able to increase her, value and what she makes. And, maybe it's helping my parents out, and, being able to help my friend, Jake out, and doing these things. It's all great, but like, getting that fuel and just motivation to figure that out, because it wasn't like burning the boats, right? It's like I either had to get these storage facilities or we didn't eat and I had to go back to a sales job. So that pain was like imminent, and it was like, didn't really matter how I felt. It's like, I got to figure out a way to get these facilities and get this money, where now it's like, it would be nice. So I guess if I answer it, I'm still working through and figuring that out. But yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Yeah. And and there's no right answer, right? I think, especially the circles that we're in, and we talk to people, like everyone's path is different. I know for myself, like 2021 was my year to do the same thing. It was like I conquered this mountain, and it's like, what do I do? I'm just going to hang out now.
Right.
I think it took. I was searching, like same what you were saying. I was searching for more. Like, okay, I want to do more, but I want to be for the right reasons too. And it took. I went to one event. I think I've talked about it on the show before. I went to one event, and it completely re-energized me. And I'm like, I haven't done anything, right? And I enjoyed business, and we talked about it a little bit. Like, storage does not take up that much of your time, right? If set up properly. And this is how you've got proof of concept to help your buddy, because you've done it with self-storage.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's awesome. Is there anything that you would have done differently since 18?
I would have joined cause I was always kind of like against, like, why am I going to pay someone like to join a mastermind or a coach? It's like, they don't know, like, it was probably just an ego thing, but like at the time, like I would have joined that stuff faster. And I mean, that is the reason I'm successful with all this. Cause it's like, I had someone kind of holding my hand through all this and through the clouds and through all the, it's not always perfect, but yeah, like I would have joined that sooner and just invested in myself sooner, because like, yeah, I mean, like that's an infinite return. It's like I have these skills and stuff that'll be with me the rest of my life. And yeah, like I have people like you, just like the whole community of people. It's like we're around a lot of people that are very successful, and they all have their strengths and zones of genius, where it's like, yeah, it's almost kind of like unreal that we have access to the people we do. And it's just, starting earlier for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, like looking back, it's easier to say, well, I wish I'd have done that, done this. Like I did the same thing. I think I started with podcasts and books around like 2013 and didn't join. I mean, my first mastermind, even networking, like I didn't want to go to RIAs. I didn't want to do anything, because same thing. Part of it was ego. Part of it's also I'm an introvert. So for me to go into a room and have to network with other people is like my worst nightmare. Like I do not want to do that. Yeah. So yeah, I think 2019 may have been my first one. And then I think I did a couple small ones, then Mike's. But it's crazy how quickly your life changes once you do get in the right room and around the right people. I mean, it's obviously, we're both saying it, like it's completely changed our lives for the better.
And it's hard to like quantify it, but it's like you're vibrating in the same frequency with people that are all like very similar, like go-getters, and they all have their different ways and paths to do it. But it's like, you're just like, man, okay, so it's not just me that's going through this. It's like, that's just like life. And you figure it out, and you push forward, and you keep on going. And it's like, yeah, I never believed in that stuff and kind of thought it was a scam. But it's like, if you're in the right rooms with the right people, I mean, that'll 10x whatever you're looking to do. And like, became one deal. I became a first generation, humbly a first generation millionaire. One deal, 5 cold calls. Life, bought a facility for $2 million back in 21, and it just appraised for $4 million conservatively. It's awesome. Like, wow. Like, I don't care. Like, where else are you going to do that? You can invest your whole life, put, into retirement and different things. But it's like, yeah, it was just, was it maybe some luck and some circumstance, but it's like just timing, being in the right spot at the right time. And like at the time, I didn't know if it was a good deal or not. Like, but I had the right people be like, wow, that's a screaming deal. Like, yeah, like go forward with that. I'm like, okay, so yeah.
Well, and these are the conversations. I mean, obviously this is more interview style, but these are the conversations that we have on the regular, right? Like this is where it's important to join some type of group or mastermind that's related to whatever you're doing or want to do, because these conversations they're challenging, but you're also providing each other so much, like what you just said. Like you don't realize other people are going through the same stuff, and some people have already gone through it and can tell you how to get there a lot faster than you trying to, trudge your way through it for the next 6 months. They can show you how to get past it in a day or less.
Right.
Those
are the norms and the conversations that are being had. So it's like, that's like the normal. So it's like, the 9 to 5, like when you're in those groups, it's like, what's a 9 to 5? Like, that's weird. Like that's the taboo weird thing, And too, if I'm being honest, I'm trying to figure out like, what's the perfect balance and blend of doing the mastermind and the coaching, and that it's all beneficial. Like, but it's like, I'm trying to figure out like, okay, our only finite thing is time. So it's like, how do I get the most bang for my buck? And like, I want to do all these things and be all these things to everyone, but like, what is really going to push me forward? But yeah, I'm still working through that. But yeah, I feel like I've been very fortunate to be in the groups and have friendships and connections with the people that I do. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put that, is because you can also get caught up in too many groups, too many masterminds, too many events. You can get caught up in too much of that. And I would say this past year, I've done more than what I've ever done. And I've recently made a change to kind of help that. But yeah, you're always trying to, especially being in these rooms, like you're trying to be as productive as possible and prune things where they need pruned. Yeah, it's a really good way to put that.
And like just doing the stuff that needs to get done, right? It's like sometimes you just need to do the stuff. It's like, these masterminds are great and there's a lot of value and benefit, but sometimes the doing, as Alex Ramosi says, that sometimes the doing just needs to be, done. Just, you got to do the doing,
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, October had 3 events. I was doing no doing. There's no doing there. It's like all traveling. And don't get me wrong, like it also re-energizes you.
Right.
3 events in 1 month is too much, at least for myself. It's with anything, you can go too far one way than the other. The pendulum swung too much for me.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, my personality is like, I'm either 0 or 100. Like there was someone I listen to podcasts. It's like, there's an on-off switch. There's no dimmer. It's like, it's either I'm, freaking balls to the wall. And that's, I'm learning to like, okay, like I don't necessarily need to be a doer per se, but it's like, you don't need to do everything and be everything. It's like, just figuring out what that balance is. And for me, I think it's really like just realizing time is so finite and money is infinite. And it's just like, I just want to be with my family. I want to be the best husband, best father, best friend that I can be, and just doing life, on my terms and what I want to do. Like what we were talking a little bit about Costa Rica. It's like, I'm looking into maybe buying a property there and turning it into an Airbnb and spending, a few weeks a year there. My business partner loves Costa Rica. I love it. And if we could do something to where we could buy a property, both stay there a few weeks out of the year, maybe make a little money and break even. And then 10, 20 years down the road, it's worth 4 or 5x what we bought it for.
Yep.
Sign me up for that. So,
right. That's awesome. Well, and your on-off switch that you talked about it can be a weakness, but it's also the strength that's gotten you to where you are right now.
Right.
Right. And that's where you said, coaching can help you dial that in and try to figure out, maybe there is a dimmer and you just got to figure out, how to use that dimmer.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's, I think some of that stuff too is just working on, some of my internal demons and stuff that we all have, and just, figuring that out and working through it, and realizing that we're, so lucky and blessed to even be in this situation, and try to focus on the good.
Yep. That's awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I got a few more questions here. What's one thing that you're better than anybody else at?
One thing that I'm better than anyone else at.
And I'll add to it that's gotten you to where you are now as far as professionally. Like you can't say you're the best motocross rider in Rochester. Like we can't do that.
Yeah, I'd say I just, I guess my zone of genius is just being able to follow through and build. I guess it's kind of two part. Follow through, do what you say you're going to do, but then also build like that connection and rapport and have a way of standing out, right? And just specifically stating with storage, it's like it's very competitive. So it's like you have to find a way to stand out, to do what you're saying you're going to do. And a lot, some of the three sellers I've bought from, they're like, yeah, you just stood out. You seemed genuine in your approach, and you made it very seamless and effortless to sell to you. And like I lost out in one in Georgia where I'm kind of kicking myself because it was very similar. Like, I checked all the boxes, the rapport and all this. And at the end of the day, someone came in at the last hour and was, offered more money, and I'm still kicking myself because we probably could have made it work. But it was like one of those things where it's like, would have been nice to have, didn't need it, but something just felt a little off. And, but just knowing where it was, I probably could have pushed for it. And as crazy it sounds, a few $100,000 on a $2 million deal isn't that big of a deal. So, but so like, I guess just rapport building and just follow through and just, going at a full tilt.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. And follow through is, one, you buy your facilities direct to seller. So following through is huge. I mean, I know people that they've got leads, but they don't have a follow through. I don't want to say system, but because yours probably isn't all that much of a system. It's just ingrained in you. That's what you do, right? You just know that you've got a lead here. You're going to follow through with it. You're not going to leave them hanging, and you're either going to offer or you're not, and you're going to let them know. So some of that's probably communication too, right? You're probably, I know from my experience, you're a good communicator. Follow through. That's probably all goes kind of hand in hand, but that's awesome, man.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, you want to sell, we're going to turn over every stone and try to figure this out. And, we're going to be very clear along the way. And if we can make it work, we're going to make it work. And if we can't, we can't. And just kind of your word is your bond, and kind of a handshake. Hey, that's how I grew up. Like if I shake your hand, it's like, it's going to happen, and we're going to do it. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And something just hit me too, that we were talking, and this is completely off topic, but we were talking about masterminds, and this is related to my question. But we were talking about masterminds, and you just turned a $2 million deal into a $4 million deal. $2 million in equity right there makes you a millionaire. There's not a ton of rooms that you can talk about that, right? And that's another, I guess, positive about masterminds and being around the right people, because that can hinder you. If you're not around the right people where you can talk about that, you're going to play small, and you're not going to continue to do those kind of deals. And I think there's levels of that too, right? Like there's some rooms where you're like, yeah, I just bought a $20 million deal. Now it's worth 40. There's smaller rooms where you can talk about that stuff.
Right.
So with that said, obviously you're crushing it. We know about at least one deal. You're crushing it. What's next for you?
Yeah, I think right now, I guess as it relates to storage, it's we're noticing just a little bit of a slowdown. Not terrible. Like our one Rockstar facility, like our revenue's up, but occupancy's down. Like people are moving in, but they're moving out faster. They're not moving in as much. So really, it's like, okay, controlling the controllables, like really refining our process, like just dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure we're answering. We're doing, like I'm learning Facebook marketing, just learning some tactics and things to like really entice people to move in. We're building out at our one new facility. I think we're going to develop a little more at our other facility in Florida. Just really refining what we have, because like I think this year, like I don't know what the stat is, but we'll if we won't crack $1 million this year in gross revenue, we'll be damn close. And I know like the stats on businesses that crack over $1 million are very limited, and I say that humbly. Like I just it's where we're at is awesome. And it's just like refining and continuing to grow and just go forward at the pace we want. So yeah, it's just continuing to, we want to get some more deals and want to make more money, and just, keep doing what we're doing. Cause it's like, we have a cool little, little deal. It's like I get to live the life of my dreams. My cousin loves to, she gets to take her daughter to school and, pick her daughter up and take her to sports and work on the road. And she's like so grateful for for the opportunity that we have. So yeah, just continue to hone in what we have and grow and evolve as a person. I'm going to have a little boy in April. So really lean into being a father. So lucky and blessed to be where I'm at.
It's awesome, man. And yeah, I'm not going to say your age on here, but you've definitely got it figured out. You're younger than I am. You've got it figured out, man. It's awesome to see your growth, what you're going through. And again, congratulations on the kid that's coming. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for following, subscribing, and listening to this episode of the Do More podcast hosted by John Farling. To learn more or ask questions, go to l4investing.com.